Hi and welcome, friends. My name is Surjit. I'm the senior pastor of the Living Waters Church in London and also the national leader for the Foursquare denomination here in the UK. Today we have a special treat, and we have Surjit Sembi Harding, who's going to be joining us as we talk about worship, we talk about music, we're going to talk about Jesus, but also we're going to talk about mental health. And so, it's going to be a real interesting time today. So to start off, we're going to just listen to a song by Surge, and then we're going to chat about it.
Set my wheels in motion. You taught me how to breathe. You showed me all the oceans. You showed me all the seas. You make up all this incense, or set aside for me the wonder of your farland, all made up for me. I don't know where to go, I don't know what to see. You're the thunder in the rain, I don't know what to feel. This all seems way too real. You're the thunder in the rain. I don't know where to hide. You're always on my side. You're the thunder in the rain. You roll across these seas. You roll inside of me. You're the thunder in the rain. Out of dark where you came, singing over me. The ground shook in the silence, made up all for me. I don't know where to go, I don't know what to see. You're the thunder in the rain. I don't know what to feel. This all seems way too real. You're the thunder in the rain. I don't know where to hide. You're always on my side. You're the thunder in the rain. You roll across these seas. You roll inside of me. You're the thunder in the rain.
Wow. Welcome, Serge. So great to have you with us.
Hello, it's good to be with you.
And what an amazing song. But, to start off, just share with us, how did you get involved with music?
I think it really came from my parents. My parents, a lot of friends my age their parents listened to one band, and that band was called ABBA, and ABBA's amazing. But um, I think, but I know I think my parents had two completely different tastes in music, which was really good. So it just kind of like I grew up around great music. So like my dad would be really into the rock and roll thing, and my mum would be more into the soul kind of black funk kind of thing. So I just grew up around music all the time. My mum and dad had so many CDs, and just remember as a child just going through like Tracy Chapman, M People, Lighthouse Family, Elton John, Queen. Yeah, so and my auntie gave me a guitar when I was like 10 or 11, and
Mhm.
then the worship pastor from my church started teaching me, and it kind of just went from there.
Wow. I remember you telling me about the guitar that your parents gave you first.
So I have dyspraxia, which means my coordination is like really really bad. So when I went to my parents and asked for a guitar, they weren't entirely sure that I would be able to actually like play it. So to save money, and they cut me out a cardboard guitar, and that kind of sold me for the next 4 years. But then I got to about age 11, I was like, I kind of want a real one because like it got a bit bored. But I remember my parents told me I used to grab it and then run up next to the worship leader and just stand next to him for 4 years. So I was on a worship team before I could even play guitar.
Play
So there
guitar.
you
Wow,
go.
wow, that's so awesome. And watching that clip, you wouldn't even think that you had any coordination issues because that is
It's
so
you
brilliant.
should see me like in the morning trying to do my shirt for church, or I can't do my laces, but like God has just blessed me. I can play guitar and piano, and like when it comes to music, I can do it. But
Wow,
anything else, it's hilarious watching me trying to go around life. But I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed.
wow, wow. That I believe that will also be such an encouragement,
Yeah,
for people listening to say, hey, I can do that.
yeah.
I can do that. So, how have, let's talk about your journey of faith, because you spoke about, um, growing up in kind of a Christian home and that environment. But share with us how you came into a relationship with Jesus.
I think my story is like very different. I grew up in a loving environment, and my mum was actually a Sikh for a while, and my dad was an atheist. And then there was a guy who was walking around our housing estate. He was playing alpha videos, and my dad just started taking us to church, and my mum became a Christian. And for me, like it was kind of the music that really got me in. Like that's the thing I loved about it. But I don't think I ever stopped to think about who God was
Mm.
and to think like what he actually meant to me. And then I got to about 13 and 14, and then emo happened. So and then it became a disaster. Like my hair was here, and I had the black lipstick, and I had the chains, and like it was all. There's some awful photos that people will never see of me, and I kind of my music kind of took me in another direction, and I'm just going through that and go through university, just living like completely a double life. And then my friend Robert, who I'd gone for dinner with a couple of times, and I was a year and a half into my degree, and I was like, I was exhausted. I was like, I feel like I need to sleep for the next year and a half because I've just partied hard for a year and a half, and I'm just like, my life is a mess. And I remember saying this to Robert and was like, look, I'm going to this alpha course tonight. Would you like to come with me? And I was like, oh, I haven't gone to church in about 2 years. I'm just like, I'm not sure. He goes, I'm not like, I don't not wearing a shirt, like, And he was like, no, he was like, just come. And so I remember going, and I actually ended up staying for the whole course. I remember week 1, week 2, and week 3. I was like, this is cool. They're playing those nice worship songs that I used to play all the time, and like, but then week 4 was, why did Jesus die for us? And I just remember being so captivated that there was a man that who loved me of who I was, no matter who I was. I always thought Christianity was an expectancy for me to be someone else, but actually God just wants us as we are. And I remember praying a really simple prayer. I said, God, if it's you, then let it be you. Let your presence just like fill. And that's the first ever time I experienced God's presence. And I was like, without music, without nice chords. I think people were like hanging out afterwards. This is in the social, but afterwards, I remember just sitting down and like just experiencing God's presence for the first time, and I was like, I am an idiot if I walk away from this, and I'm such an idiot if I walk away from this, because this is so real. This is so more real than anything I've experienced before, and I think there's times where I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? But actually, it's like when I get back to that place when we step into God's presence, it's like I think evangelism would be so easy if we could just put the presence of God on people. People would just come, and I think that's like, I think that's the important thing, and so that was just such a cool experience.
Wow, that's so good that you had I would say a tangible experience of God's presence, and that's awesome. So is your music just limited to church, or do you kind of get your music out there, perform in pubs, clubs, whatever?
I wouldn't limit my music. I think it's the other way around. It's very rare I write a worship song. Okay. So my music has always been like very expressive of who I am. I think the thing with worship music, I find there's such a pressure, because the thing is with my music, I'm not asking people to sing it, but I think when you're writing a worship song, you have this responsibility of asking congregation. So I would like to think I could write songs like that, but I think the more important thing is like there's been some instances where God has stopped me and said, Serge, that's a song for the church. So until God really puts that on my heart, I try and write about everything, and music's really like a therapeutic experience to me. But 95% of the songs, God is in them, and I think I think we hide them sometimes. I think because sometimes we don't want to be too in people's faces, but at the same time, at every show we play now for the last 3 years, before COVID, we always try and like give the opportunity to share God's love, or share it in a way that people can latch on to. So, and that's really cool for me. It's so exciting. Like inside, I'm leading worship. On the outside, it might look like a really cool stage with like these 4 cool guys dressed coolly, and we're like playing these okay songs. But actually in my heart, I'm saying, God, just use this, because like God can use anything, exactly. Like, and that's like, I heard a story when my friend went to Hippodrome, and this club in Kingston, and I haven't been for years, and they were playing a Hillsong United remix, and he would say, dude, this is so cool, I heard this in church yesterday, and he started telling his friends about church in the middle of this club, and I was like, that's so powerful, like, that we can create something so relevant that can go into places like that. So I think that stuff really excites me.
That's excellent. And you said something quite powerful there. You said that your songs depicts who you are. And and that's because of through your experience and encounter with Jesus, that's what comes out. Whether it's in church or whether, as you say, whether it's out there in a club or wherever. That's the foundation. And,
definitely. And I think like when you come to a space between a show, there are songs obviously that aren't just about God, but it's like saying, I think we're kind of at a point where like this is where we are right now, and we're okay with that, and we're comfortable with that. So it's like, I might be struggling with a relationship with this person. Like, there's a song in our set about my mum. There's a song, obviously, about my experience with anxiety. Joff's got about 400 songs about his wife. Matthew's got, Sunil's got songs that he's in. But what normally happens is we play all that stuff, but we get to a point in the evening where it goes, this is all going on, but there is something like this, and then there's something like God who's bigger than this. And, that's kind of how we always try to wrap up a show.
Wow, that's so good. So we're going to listen to another song, and it's called Rest in You.
Brilliant. All that I know is that your heart lets me know. All that
I seek is thee, your arms keep me here. All that I hear is the sound of your heartbeat. Take me away to your own ways. Talk to me, Father. Would you fill me again? Would you clear all the noises? Would you take all the pain? Would you walk with me, Father? Would you teach me again to rest in you? Would you talk to me, Father? Would you fill me again? Would you clear all the noises? Would you take all the pain? Would you walk with me, Father? Would you teach me again to rest in you? Cause I leave my life behind when I see your hands in mine. Cause I leave my life behind when I see your hands in mine. Cause I leave my life behind when I see your hands in mine. Cause I leave my life behind when I see your hands in mine. Would you talk to me, Father? Would you fill me again? Would you clear all the noises? Would you take all the pain? Would you walk with me, Father? Would you teach me again to rest in you? Would you talk to me, Father? Would you fill me again? Would you clear all the noises and take away the pain? Would you walk with me, Father? Would you teach me again to rest in you? Cause I leave my life behind when I see your hands in mine. I leave my life behind when I see your hands in mine.
Wow, that's a powerful song. Um, I'd like to hear about your involvement and even part of your struggle with mental health and how music and what you're doing and how you are dealing with it and even encouraging others. So please share with us.
Yeah, it's been a constant battle. So it's not just been like the last couple of years. I think as a child, I knew I was different, and what not a lot of people know is I actually went to a. I was in a school, but I was in a very select class. So there was probably about 10 of us in one classroom, and people with the same struggle. And I think the thing with adolescence is that it covers up a lot, because I think so much is going on. So it's just like, oh, they're just teenagers and that's like, I think in a way that's kind of a plus, because we can kind of, I really appreciate my mom, because my mom tried to give me the most normal upbringing as possible when, like, I think she knew something was wrong. And I was in denial till about the age of 22.
Right.
And I had a complete breakdown, and it was horrible. And I kind of got to a point where I accepted it when I was 22, but I kept it hidden for so long. And then when I began ministry in 2016, and inside I knew I had something inside me that I couldn't show. And I think for leaders and for worship leaders, and I think for anyone in the church, this isn't just a leadership discussion, but I think when you're standing up at the front, or you have a bearing, or you have an influence on your community, I think people expect you to be a certain way, and there is such a thing as accountability, and I'm for accountability. But I think emotionally, I think there's sometimes an expectation that we're going to jump out of bed every morning and be, yeah. And I remember in 2016, I was really struggling with my identity.
Right.
And I had gone from living in, so I used to live in Hounslow, and I think Hounslow isn't the coolest place in the world. And then so I went and lived in Chiswick, and it was completely different. It was completely different. And I was like, I remember thinking the first week, I was like, I've got to buy some jeans. Like, and I was just like, I've got to like get a hat and like to, and not necessarily to fit in, but like to be relevant. And I think I think as long as it's not affecting your identity, I think that's important. But I just remember saying, I was like, man, and actually out of that experience, I actually was diagnosed with bulimia at first.
Right.
And I just became so conscious of what everyone was saying. So, like, for example, this is something I shared the other day, and I was at McDonald's, and I shared an Instagram story or an Instagram post of me at McDonald's. At my chicken selects, I look very happy. And my friend commented, and like, this is an attack on my friend, but my friend made like a really funny comment, and like, he was like, "Oh, Serge, you're gonna get fat," and I thought, and at the time I thought it was really funny, but then for example, I'd go home and I take it to heart, and I take it so personally, and I was like, I felt like I didn't have a private life anymore. I remember we were at a pub, and after church, and I don't know, actually I think it was in the week, and we were with a couple friends, and the barman came over, and he said, "Hey, do you mind if we clear this table? Do you mind if you guys can sit at the table next to you for 5 minutes just while we clear this table?" And we said, "Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine." And then but at this table there was these group of guys and girls drinking like heavily. I mean, we had like one glass of wine, and they were going for it. And someone took a picture, and it was the most horrible picture of me with like 6 shot glasses in front of me. And somehow it got like, and I remember coming in the next day to church, and I was like, "Hey, have you got a problem?" I was just like, "Oh man," like I'm having to constantly like, and it just got so much. And it got to a point in 2018 where I was diagnosed with anxiety, and I said to my doctor, I was like, "Look, I 1 minute I want to kill myself, and the next minute I want to lead worship," and it's just like, I had such an unhealthy balance, and it began to like not even destruct my ministry life, but destruct my friendships even, because it got to a point where like I was so unpredictable, and I remember it affected like a really important relationship in my life as well. And I got to the point where I was like, I have to be honest about this. So I went to leadership and said, this is how I feel. And the reaction was super interesting. And I think I think it's super. This isn't an attack again, but I think in that time, if somebody had came to me and said, "Hey, I feel like this," I'd probably been like, "Let's give you a rest," but I wouldn't know what else to do because I think we're so untrained and we don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
And basically, the answer to the problem from leadership was take a break. But I think that was the worst thing because that just kind of like isolated me even more, and my life became such a mess. I was like, here's a God that I love, but everything else is just like crumbling. And I remember there was a particular weekend where I kind of just had enough. Basically, I remember waking up one morning and I was just like, for the first time in my life, I didn't want to be here anymore. This may be way heavy for your show, but like,
No, this is good. This is so good
and
because
I remember,
you're being open and honest, you know.
yeah, and I remember going to church that morning and seeing some people because I think it was a friend's baptism or something like that,
Right.
and I just went to visit. And then you go in and instantly, my church at the time was the church I was at was really, really big. So I think sometimes a worship leader in a church can be like a mini celebrity. It's just like, and it's true though. Like I know if I go into church, I'm leading worship, I'm gonna get attention, and I'm not like abusing that. It's just a case. People want to meet that guy, and I get it. And it goes, when are you coming back? When are you leading worship? And I was just like inside, like I had such an attack. I was like, I don't think I can ever see people ever again. And I remember walking in the tube station, and my breathing at this point was super heavy. And I was like, I'm gonna. Half of me wanted to go to McDonald's, half of me wanted to go to the evening service, and then half of me wanted to run in front of a tube. And I essentially I collapsed. I stopped breathing, and I was found on Hammersmith tube station. It's like a mall inside a station. It's one of those stations, and I'm so lucky. Someone, because I think you see people like collapsed in Hammersmith all the time. Maybe not a panic attack, but like and. I was so lucky someone called an ambulance, and I was that close to Charing Cross Hospital, and I was rushed in, and and it was horrible. And the doctor, I remember speaking to the doctor after, and the doctor was like, 45 minutes later, and you would have been dead. And that's what the scary thing is. And I let it, and it isn't like it's other people's fault. Like, it's my fault for letting it get that bad, because in ministry and in what I was doing in the band, I wasn't looking after myself. I was putting so much of myself into what I thought was important. I lost sight of who I was. And it's like, for example, like I hate going to parties because I feel like I'm watched the whole time. So I used to put myself into these like situations where I just assumed like my mental health was going to have an effect. And when I was in hospital, I had such an encounter with Jesus, and so it was going to pretty serious. They got the machine out where they push, and I felt I kind of woken up by that point, and I woke up and was like, what's going on? And I had like defibrillator here and a defibrillator here, and I couldn't move my arms because it was just stinging all the time. And I remember wanting to fall asleep. And my nurse was like, Serge, she didn't know my name, but she was Mrs. Sembi Harding, or whatever, like, don't fall asleep. I think you could hear in her voice, it wasn't sleeping, it was something else. And then without realizing it, I wanted to move, and I came up like this, and I felt myself came out my body. Right. And then suddenly I was looking at myself laying, this is a true story, I was looking at myself laying on the bed. And I saw these transparent people running behind the bed, and they were saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I was like, wow, like, Jesus is round that corner. And so I went round, and I saw Christ. And as people were running into him, they disappeared. And so it's like he had his arms open, and as people ran into him, they were like disappearing. And I was like, I want to go where they're going. Like, I want to be with Christ. And as I walked up to, almost like running into him, his hand was placed on my shoulder, and I became solid. And he said, no, Serge. He said, there's still more for you to do. Right. And I found myself back in my original position. And whether it happened in my head, whether it happened, I love the line in Harry Potter where it said, of course it's been happening inside your head, Harry, but that doesn't mean it's not real. And like whether it was a vision, I don't know. Maybe someone more prophetic can answer that question, but I know. And I was just like, I was laying in hospital for the next couple of days, and I was just like, I cannot sit here and pretend like this didn't happen. And it was really interesting because my friends came to visit me the next night, and I was so blessed. Like I had probably about 20 people around my hospital bed, and like, and my best friend said, your friends are coming to see you now. And I said okay. And then so I put my smile on. I was like, hey, Surjit's here, and but then I saw my friend Rosalia and Felicity's reaction to seeing me, you know, basically tubed up to this thing, you know, and I was the youngest guy in that ward, and I really shouldn't be in that ward, you know, for someone of my age and my health. You know, I remember there was a guy across from me who died in the night, and it was just like I really shouldn't be here. And I remember their reaction, and I was just like, even now, after what I've gone through, I'm still trying to act up. And I remember laying there, and for the next couple of weeks, sitting at home, I was in. My doctor was like, you can lay here for 4 weeks, or you can lay at home for 4 weeks. And I took the home option, but it was like I had a mini lockdown. I had lockdown for other people had lockdown. I did not go out, you know, and the only thing I had was guitar and racing. And like I was like, I cannot sit here and ignore what's happened to me, and it would be so wrong of me. And I think like that's God's way of saying this needs to be addressed. And so I went out and got like the first thing for me was to get professional advice, because I think when I went to the doctor back in 2018, this happened March 2019, but so it took that long for me to, you know, react. But the reaction that what I got in 2018 was like, here are some drugs, here's some medicine, here is some medicine, off you go. And I was like, that's not good enough. And I remember, so I fought a battle for 4 years to see a specialist, to see an anxiety specialist. And you know, and she's not a Christian. You know, and some people are like, do you need to see like a spiritual? And I was like, I need someone to deal with my anxiety. I need someone to deal, before I can even like think about ministry again. I need to make sure I'm in a place where I'm looking after myself.
Wow. Sorry, you know, I just said so good because, you know, because people need to hear that, because it's like so often we hide it and we struggle alone, and, you know, and not getting also, I think, you know, you kind of said this, not getting caught up in the performance trap. And
it wasn't like my worship was fake. It wasn't like I was pretending up there. Like my worship was so real. And so some of the comments I got about my worship was really interesting. Was you give too much. But the reason is, it's like that was the only thing I had. So like my worship looked desperate, and I think worship in a way should be desperate, because like I was like, man, I have nothing else but the presence of God right now. Wow. So like I used to cry. Like there's like some song there was some. I think there was about 4 weeks in a row before I collapsed where I just could not like lead worship without crying, and I came off the stage wrecked. Like if you see me on a Sunday night, I'm the worst person to talk to, and I think the problem is, it's like I did all that on a Sunday, and then at the end of Sunday, I tried to go to the pub and try to be like a good social person as well. And I realized I have to balance my life. I have to like, I cannot be a good friend like if I leave, you know, if I have this. And it's like, you know, where is the balance? And it's like, you know, so I think because for me, like, I've always like, I'm never going to lead worship, or I'm never going to do a show from a place that I think I've been, but I always want to do it from a place where I know I've been. So when I lead worship, like I remember when my mum had a brain aneurysm in 2014. I remember I was asked to lead worship in the middle of her coma, and I was on rota, and maybe I should have done it, maybe I shouldn't have done it. Like that's a long time ago, but I just remember like, this is the only place I can lead worship out of today. But what I know is that it's honest and it's true. And I think that will touch people so much That's more than me just saying, oh, yeah, things are great, because they're not. So
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So how I would you or are you helping people, or you
Yeah.
spoke to me about Ignite. So
Yes.
just tell me more about that.
Ignite was an interesting birth. Um, it's really funny. So before I had my collapse, I I've been asked to do a few things, and like before 2018, I've been asked to be, I was actually asked to be on a couple of TV shows as well. I was asked to be on like shows like The Undateables and stuff like that, and which I've just was maybe I should go now. I was like asked, and my answer was always no, and my excuse at the dinner table would always be, I'm such a hard person to get. At the time, I was so like hard, so I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you having this conversation. I'd just be like, let's talk about the music.
Yeah.
My automatic response to people would be like, go and listen to the songs, and you'll get to know me. I'm not gonna sit here and like open up to you. And I remember I'm just praying about it, and like again coming to that message of I can't ignore what's just happened. So I said, what do I know? I know music, and I know music can be pretty powerful, and I know creative arts can be pretty powerful. So I was like, is there something we can like put together where we match the church and mental health? When I said the church and mental health, when I said it in my head, I was like, those two things don't go together right now. And I was like, right, I think that's because initially it was just going to be mental health, but then I was like, I can't ignore God as well, because I think Jesus is the most even though I hate what I went through, I'm so glad I got to come face to face with Christ as well, because like that was almost worth it. That was worth the 4 weeks, and I was like, I think God really wants me to link these together. So I don't think it should just be like a community of Christians celebrating mental health, but I think it should be mental health born out of a community of Christians, and I was like, I want to make this spiritual. I don't just want to simply ignore, because the great thing is about mental health is like we have the ultimate cure, and we have the ultimate light, and his name is Jesus.
That's right.
And it's like, so I have to link these together. So we made it. I remember talking to my great friend Ian. Ian's like my mentor, my agent, my manager, my youth leader, my worship pastor, my senior pastor, my father, and my girlfriend all in one. And he's such a great guy. And I remember sitting at his kitchen table and said, look, I really want to do something. And I didn't even have a name at the time, but I said, I think we should just do an evening where we had an evening in February, the first ever Ignite. And so there was really cool music, but we all got a chance to share our stories. And what was really cool as well, we had Christian mental health charities come in and talk about what they do and how they can help people. And yeah, it was just like, and out of that, we kind of like, we already had a community, but I think we didn't have a community with a focus. And then all of a sudden, like we kind of like built this community where it was like actually where Christians and mental health go together, and how does that fit in with the church? I had back in 2017, I had a which is something I still need to act on, but I had a word from God, and really significant word, and God said, Serge, it's time for a church to be built that doesn't talk at people but talks to people. And I think I was in IKEA when God gave me that word, and I just had to like kind of stop, and I quickly wrote it down on my phone, and I was like, that is so true to what we're doing. We're actually talking to people. So I think the thing we really emphasize with Ignite is like, we don't have the answers, but by sparking a conversation and being a light, Dimitri says this really cool thing where it says your health is your wealth. And I think that's like so true. And it's like, building a place where people can discuss. And this year obviously has been a little bit different. We were planning to do another one this year, but then lockdown happened, and it was coming up to the 1 year anniversary. And we were really praying about it. It was like, what do we do? And so we decided to start this podcast. And it's been such like a blessing because we've just had a real chance to sit down and be like, where are we at now? But the one thing that's really cool, I think, again, like a Space Arena show, and like everything at the end of the show, it's like, and everything we do, it's like kind of like Jesus is still at the focus, but it's so real. There's nothing like, it's not deep theology, and that stuff's great, but like it's real people talking about real situations. And I often go back to the Bible and say, and people are like, I've had a few conversations with leaders, and it's been like, well, Serge, yeah, but it needs to be invested in a certain theology or a certain discussion. But my thing, I come back to it, is like, I love to look at the life of Jesus. And so I'm a history student, and I've studied the life of people. And when you study the life of Jesus was always amongst people. And I think for me, it's like, if I take an example from Jesus was always set within the crowd, and he was always in the crowd, and he was always serving people. Like I think I was, when Jesus goes to heal Jairus's daughter, he's touched by the woman who touches his shoulder, and he felt so called. He didn't let his project get in the way of his calling. And I love that with God, and I love that shown in the Bible constantly, that he's not just like a Sunday, he's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday kind of guy, which is
a
great.
lifestyle. It's part of a lifestyle.
Exactly. And it's like, I can't do church anymore without seeing how people are. Like, it'd probably be really unethical, but in an ideal world, I'd love to go around church every day and speak to every single, but like, come on, because how many people do you say to, hey, how are you? And they give you an honest answer. And it's like, I want to be like, no, come on, give me an honest answer. I think sometimes church, it should be like a call system, and everyone should, and obviously it's not possible to do it. But I think with somewhere like this, it's like, where are you at really?
Exactly.
Because the thing is, what I found is like, God loves us just as we are. And it's right. Like, and the church, what Ignite is and what church is can be steps to better ourselves. But if we're not authentic and we're not true to who we are, God's not going to meet us, because God always meets us where we're at.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all that, because, people need to hear that. People need to hear that. And it's not just, hey, how are you? But it's like, no, how are you?
Yeah.
What's really happening in there?
Yeah.
And so that's I wish we had more time, to kind of,
we can talk more.
We're kind of coming to the final segment of our time together. And you're releasing a song for Easter.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yes. So obviously we're in the middle of recording album 3 right now, which people are very excited about. Because of lockdown, we just wanted to record. I was praying about it, and we had this. So the first album is great, but there's 16 songs on the first album. So Serge was writing way too much at the time. And so I was really praying about it, and I was like, there's this particular song on the first album which I think needs more light, and and I think I've wanted to do something. Easter's my favorite time of the year. Like I love Christmas, but like Easter is my favorite time of the year. I love Easter. I get so excited about it. For me, I think it's the most wonderful experience that we can have to reach people. And and there was this song I wrote. It's inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia, and particularly by the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, we meet Eustace, and I won't give the whole backstory, but Eustace's cousins have already been to Narnia, and they've had this incredible experience. But Eustace is like me. I'm not an adventurous person. I'm not like I like nature and stuff, but I'm not like I need to be in a park the whole time. I'm very happy sitting at the restaurant. I'm not like I need to walk everywhere kind of person. I think Eustace is having a really rough time with it. And he finds himself in this world, and Eustace is just like, I was happy where I was, I don't want to, and he finds himself in this world, and it's not till he meets and through his stupidity, he becomes a dragon. Now, most people would think, oh, it's really cool to be a dragon, but it's kind of like me. I think if I became a dragon, I'd be like very annoyed by it, and I'd be like, I don't want to be caught in this body. I was happy where I was, And Eustace comes face to face with Aslan, and Aslan's Jesus is the representation of Jesus in Narnia. And actually, it turns out in the 7th book, he was Jesus all along. So, he meets Jesus, and he says this incredible thing, which kind of really stopped me. And they do it really well in the film as well. And he said, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I tried to do it myself, I couldn't. And I think I was just like, wow. And I remember watching the film a couple of years ago, and I was like, I have to write a song about this. And I came up with it, and the song's called "Who You Are." And I think the message is like, who we are is always found in who God was first. And I think that's so cool. And I remember writing it, and I was like, I had the verses, and I didn't have the chorus. And normally what happens, if I can't finish a song, I probably won't continue with it, because I think if an idea is good, when it's good, it's like, this is really cool, but I can't find anything that matches well. I remember walking to a meeting, and God spoke to me. He said, Serge, and it's one of those moments, you need to finish that song. Like, this is a song for people to sing. Yeah. And I remember standing on the road, like, singing. And I just went to the book, and in the book, they're talking about Aslan for the first time, and it's like, sorrow is for at his roar, wrong turns to right, he brings spring again. And I think that's just such a cool thing for Easter, that God is emotional, and God is relationship, and God is, it's not just a far off creature, but it's something that's so real. And when Eustace stands in front of Aslan at the end of Dawn Treader, he, like, the other kids have become kings and queens. They've experienced these great adventures, but Eustace's sole purpose, and the thing that kind of like makes me emotional, that I can't get through, is like, he was just there to meet Aslan, and he was just there to meet Christ. All the other stuff was irrelevant. And I think for me, that's such a powerful message. Like, the world is not worth anything if it's not coming to face with Christ.
Wow. So let's have a listen to the song.
You called me out again.
So where can people access your music? Where can they access?
So it's basically on all major digital platforms. So it's on Spotify, Apple Music, everything. So we're spaced between us, and it comes out on Good Friday. I'm not sure, when does this go out?
So this will come out on Saturday evening.
Oh, no, that's great. So that's an extra treat for you guys. There's a special video version of it coming out on Saturday as well, which we need to finish editing.
Okay.
So, so it comes out on Good Friday, and it's there for you for this Easter. So yeah, please do enjoy it.
This has been so good, Serge. Been so
Thank
real,
you, brother.
so I'm sure there are people who have been watching us, and they're like, he's talking about me. And so in closing, what would be your advice to someone who's been watching this today?
I think the biggest thing, I think two things. First thing, it's okay to not be okay. So don't beat yourself up. I think sometimes we can feel rubbish and then we beat ourselves up for being rubbish. Don't do that. It's unhealthy. And I think the second thing is talk to someone, and talk to someone. In the Bible, it talks about choosing your friends wisely. So as well, talk to someone who you know is going to give you a good advice. And hey, if you want to get in touch as well, on the Ignite page, we have a incognito box, which means you can message us anonymously. I can't speak English today. Anonymously or in person, and we'd love to pray for you. We'd love to be with you. We can send you information. Contact your pastors, contact your leaders, but don't sit in the dark. Spark the light, ignite the true self, who you can be in reflected in Christ.
Yeah. So what's the website name? Is it www.ignite?
Oh no, so we don't have an actual website at the moment. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Space Between Us Music,
cool.
The Ignite podcast is on our homepage. So if you just find any of the podcast episodes, there's an incognito box, and the reaction to that's just been great. To actually be honest, meet with people, and we always one thing we do suggest is go and talk to your GP first, but obviously. For spiritual and more, someone to put an arm around you, and just generally, it doesn't have to be us, but whoever, if you're sitting there and feeling depressed or you feel anxiety or whatever is going on, talk to someone, because don't the way you're living, it's not right. It's not, life is so much bigger and better than that. So that would be my advice to you.
That's great. Yeah. So, get on to the YouTube channel and get in contact with Ignite. But thank you once again, Serge. This has been a real rich time and a real, great time. And thank you for being so open and sharing your heart with us, and really, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. God bless.